Hello, Cathar Love 55. Who am I? Good question. At my late stage in life, I'm still finding out. 10 years ago, if someone had said, this is what you'll be doing, chats on YouTube, putting out books one after another, I would have been very skeptical about that. And yet, I have another book that I've put out. This one is somewhat naughty. It's called The Destruction of City Tattersalls by Tweedledum and Tweedledee. This is, I'm not suggesting you buy it, but the simple reason is it's about a local situation here in Sydney, and this wonderful club that I've been a member of for 25 years. I've met so many people there, I danced there. It's been an amazing club. When I joined it was 47,000, now it's down to about 15,000. It's been ripped apart primarily by one person, supported by a committee that they get in year after year. Anyway, it's so the book's about that, but I call them Tweedledum and Tweedledee, and it's a satire. So it's if you're from Sydney and belong to the club, yeah, buy it. It's an expose, because they want to put up a high-rise and 49 stories, and there's millions and millions of dollars involved. So because I do a bit of writing, it's my way of contributing to them stopping the destruction of a really wonderful club. So to that end, I'm starting I intend to start a Facebook situation, so I can explain the situation to members, because they have a magazine they can put out, and members really don't know what's going on, and so I can explain it to them through Facebook. So I'm putting out a Facebook page, so I'm never really worried about that, and so forth. And so who am I? Well, again, going back to books, my book, the Cathar Dialogues, and also the Catholic, the Gnostic Codex. These really explain in depth Catharism, and it's between a friend of mine who's died, Guliam, and Jim Callahan, and his guide. I helped introduce him to his guide, and which is wonderful, and they had 7 years of conversations, dialogues, and it's very funny, a lot of it, but it's insightful, and it really tells you how a Cathar thinks, without all the airy fairy stuff that people, the unconditional love, and which is right, but unconditional love for yourself and for others, it's not an airy fairy thing. It's a very blunt reality. It's not easy. It's not easy to be kind. It's easy to be angry, but to be kind and caring, actually, it's not easy. And the book is by Omni de Nabors, who's a very solid Cathar, and Jim saw him 3 times, but he was taught by Dion. Now Dion, you won't read about him. I've never been able to find out about him, but Henri said he was the most obscure but the greatest of all the Cathar philosophers. And he said, what I'm teaching you is what Dion taught me. And he also said, I don't see Dion now, because Dion has passed on. So what that means is, even in the world of spirit, that as we learn and graduate and learn more, we reincarnate down here, pick up a few more lessons, and eventually we get our act together, which includes who am I, who I am, and knowing that, because it's difficult. There is a point, and when you pass on Pass on where? To another level, closer to the source. I don't know. He just said he's out of my. He's now out of my ken. He's now out of my understanding, and he can no longer teach. So from that we can gather that even in the world of spirit, that we do move on after a certain more enlightenment or more understanding or whatever it is to be. And who am I? Well, in that book, Henri said, he was talking about Jim and myself, and he said, Jim, he said, you are a literati, you know, you're a person, you're a writer, a person who should be writing. You love words, you love reading, you're intelligent, part of the intelligentsia, wonderful mind, you should be writing, you're a literati. He said, Matthias, Johnny here, he's a man of action with the soul of an artist. And I thought, oh well, having thought about that, having read it, I thought well, probably that's a fair description. So, and he also said, because Jim said, oh, I sometimes envy Matthias. He said, because the way he does things. And Henri said, just be yourself. Don't ever envy someone else or be like that person. Just be who you are. He said, you're wasting your time. He said, the big thing is to self-discovery. This is what we need to do is discover ourselves. And not just ourselves, I mean, God. You know, we've got the Christian God, Muslim God, the Cathar source, all these different things. And this guy, he was really serious about this, and you know, he used to really think about God. You know, is God Jewish? Would he say to me, Hallelujah, or if he's addressing me, or he's Christian, Amen, Amen, I say to you, or whatever. And he also thought, well, what colour is God? And does he have any colour at all? No. And he thought, is he black? Is he white? And he thought about these things, and so, being the serious meditative type, he went to a cave in the mountains, and he sat there and he meditated, and he just wanted God to answer. He said, are you black and white? Are you black or are you white? This is the thing the thing that seemed that he needed to know. And one morning there was this voice like thunder. It came out just as he woke up, and it said, you are what you are. Oh. Thank you. He had this. He's been answered. Black or white? What does that mean? You are what you are. He can understand that. Yeah, I am what I am. Even Popeye the Sailor Man said, "I am what I am." Popeye the Sailor Man. But this didn't answer the question to him whether God was black or white. And he asked various people, ministers and rabbis and learned people. No one could help him. Anyhow, he happened to ask a black friend of his, and he just over coffee one morning, and he said, I just, to me it doesn't answer whether God's black or white. He said, of course it does. And he said, well, how does that answer whether God's black or white? He said, well, it answers that God's white. He said, well, how do you make that out? He said, well, if God was black, he said, if God's white, because he said, you are what you are. He said, if he's black, he would have said, Yo is what Yo is. So, it's a joke, but it's a joke in the context of what we're talking about. So there's a number of things. Finding out who we are, and accepting who we are, and enjoying who we are. In my quest to know more about myself, who I am, I went to a lot of astrologers, and I have to say, as far as defining my personality, it was good, wonderful. But as far as anything about the future, they're all a joke. But, there was one guy short guy. I've forgotten his name. But he was Roy Probert. Roy Probert. And this is 50 years ago. And he didn't charge, but he had 6 of his students. We'd go around with him everywhere. He'd have coffee, he'd have 6 students there. And he said he'd do my chart for me. I met him on the appointed date, and it was in this coffee lounge. It's called Reppins. Used to exist once in Sydney. And he said, "Oh, John," he said, I've forgotten your chart, but he said, "I can remember a couple of major things." And he said, "You've been to 1 more, but you'll go to 2 more." And I thought, it's true, I've been to 1 more, but I don't think I'll go to any more. 1's enough for me. That was the Korean War. Well, I put up my age 4 years to get in, so I think I was the youngest Australian soldier to serve over there, fight over there. Anyway, and he said, not only that, he said, "You'll be married by the end of the year." I said, "I don't think so. I don't even have a girlfriend." What happened? I met my wife, Mel, and 3 months after meeting her, I said, "Let's get married." She said, "I don't even know you." I said, "We know enough about it, we know enough about each other," and we got married. So that happened, and of course I did go to 2 more wars. So Roy Probert. So all these others, a bunch of malarkey. They didn't even tell what was happening a week later, a fortnight later, a year later. But the point was that Roy Probert and was spot on, and every other astrological thing that I had done, charts, and the top guy in London, one of the top guys in London for various people, not one that ever mentioned when I got married or the fact that I went to any wars, let alone 3. Yet there was Roy, and he was absolutely spot on, and he was the one and only that also didn't charge. So I have to say, astrology can be very, very accurate. Numbers are another aspect that can give us an insight into ourselves. And in fact, numbers is a very, very ancient science. It was ancient when Plato, who we tend to follow the Pythagorean system of numbers, and Plato got that from Egypt, and we must understand that the world in those days, the numbers related to the universe, to this, to that. We use numbers now for 2 and 2 make 4, and 4 4s are 16, and we use it for transactions and money and so forth. But from medieval times, even early Christianity, ancient Rome, Greece, Babylon, Egypt, all these people, the whole universe was defined in numbers. So numbers to them was a mystical aspect of their lives, and numbers also helped explain their lives. So when I talk about numbers in numerology, I'm referring to their concept of looking at numbers. And when you look at it from that way, and you start to understand numbers from that point of view, from a mystical and the ancient concept of what they look at numbers, then it's an entirely different world, and that can give amazing directions as to who you are and how anybody else, from when you were born, from your name, all these things, when you bring your name down to numbers and so forth. And you'll find how various groups will attract various groups and what have you. This is all a part of knowing who am I. Another one, or another aspect, is our thought processes, what we think about, how we define the world and how we define ourselves in the world. A lot of Christians, and one very good friend of mine, she said, "Oh, I'm just a poor, miserable Christian." I said, "Don't be, you're a beautiful, wonderful woman. Don't, oh no, I'm just a miserable sinner." I thought, oh my God. Anyway, talking wasn't going to change anything. So, but if you're a sinner, you believe you're a sinner, well then sinners get punished, and so this is your concept of reality, this is your concept, and you know, that you're a miserable sinner and you're getting punished. Well, fair enough. If you believe that the world, even with all its ups and downs and terrible things, but from your point of view, from your point of view and your health and what have you, and your attitude, and you believe the world is really to be celebrated, life is to be celebrated, and even death is to be celebrated, well, this is how life turns out to be, because each person's life is defined, how that person's existence is, by their deepest concepts. Now, firstly, one needs to understand what we really believe. What is it that we believe? What is it that we stand for? Do we have a cause? Are we living for some particular, something that is larger than ourselves? So, you know, to me, I'm Cathar bound. I'm caught up in this particular group and this particular situation, and this is my overall direction that I'm going. Even though I might write a book about trying to save a club, my club, and the jobs of those people who are in those clubs, rather than make a few people well off and rich and so forth. Yet this is only a step away from my main objective, which is to promote the Cathar side of Gnosticism. To that end, there was the story about this chap, and he in the old Vedic system of India, paradise was sometimes defined as a series of wishing trees. So if you sat below the wishing tree and whatever you wished for, you got. It was there. And this old guy, he was travelling along, and inadvertently he sat under one of these wishing trees. And he had a sleep, and he rested and woke up, and oh, gee, I'm hungry. And suddenly there was this food, and wonderful foods appeared in front of him. Oh, and he just ate, and that was great going. I wouldn't mind a drink, and suddenly there was fresh water and cold, refreshing waters and wines and fruit drinks and so forth were also in front of him. Oh Lord, they started to think about this. What's going on here? He said, are there spirits around, or are there spirits or demons? Are they out there? Are they tricking me? And suddenly these spirits and some demons appeared, and they started tricking him, playing with him, and he got all panicky and said, oh my God, he said, these people are, these are really nasty people. He said, they'll probably try and kill me. And they did. Now, the essence of this is that what we wish for, our mind is like that wishing tree. What we wish for and what we want and what we are going for, I'll put it another way. What we do and say and think today now is making our future reality. The trouble is, of course, that sometimes we do and say and think things today, and it doesn't necessarily happen tomorrow. There could be a gap between these things, could be a month, even years. But this is what we did, and this is what we wished, and this is what we wanted, and something that appeared. So nothing is cast in cement. Anything can change, but what we do and say and think today, that in itself is creating a future reality. So if you're miserable, upset, unhappy, into junk food, getting into drugs, this and that, believe me, you're creating a future reality. If, on the other hand, you're trying to be kind, trying to be caring, you're trying to be a decent human being, you're looking after your body, you're trying to eat fresh food and food that's not full of GMOs or whatever. In other words, we care about ourselves, well, it's most likely you're going to last a bit longer than the person who's not doing it that way. So, this also is common sense. So, this is the various aspects. Who am I? This is the things we can't change. The fact that that from the point of creation, we've got our divines, we've got our eternal identity. Male or female, black, white, brown or brindle, gay or straight, this is our essence. This we cannot change. What we can do is try and discover what it is, what makes us tick, what makes us go the way we are, what makes us different to this person. Now, Can we make changes? Yes, we can. We can modify these things by even changing our names, the vibration of our names. That can also help change our personality. You write one way, the personality that you have, you must write in this particular manner, because nobody can write other than the way their personality is. So if we can make changes, if you understand about graphology or graphotherapeutics, the understanding of how by changing the way we write, that could also affect, because you cannot write way and be another. So we can modify who we are in this respect. We can have astrological, numerological, these are also insights into ourselves. But just being silent and thinking about ourselves, the way we act, the way we do, and trying to understand ourselves, but importantly towards who am I, is from the point of view of learning to be who you are, because the more you know about yourself, the more amazing, and how we're all walking miracles really, internally, externally, emotionally, and so forth. And the more we can discover about our individuality, the more amazing we are. We're walking miracles. On that note, I'll say goodbye for now.